now like to invite Mr. Rohan Chatwal, Vice President, Innovation and Governance Excellence, Maruti Suzuki, to deliver the welcome note.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I am so happy the house is full. A few minutes back, I was just wondering how many people would fill in this hall, but I'm so glad there are people standing at the back as well. So once again, Drishti has already welcomed you, but on behalf of the Maruti Suzuki Innovation Team and Maruti Suzuki family, we welcome you all to this wonderful AI Summit organized by, of course, India AI Mission and the Government of India. And such a wonderful theme. Happiness for all, welfare for all. Because at the end of the day, it boils down to happiness and welfare. No matter how much money you make, whether you do Series A, Series B, Series C, whether you become CIO, CEO or whatever, end of the day, if you're not happy, is it even really worth it? And our Prime Minister has chosen such a wonderful theme that it connects with everyone, whether you are in tech or non-tech, because happiness is something which we all look for. And a perfect theme of aspiring India, aspirational India, and abundant India. And I would say that with AI, what has happened, we have learned a lot from so many speakers, because I can see Akhilesh San here. He has taken a couple of master classes for us. AI is such a great leveler because it has kind of reset the entire world. If you were to imagine and visualize, somebody has pressed the button reset. Because after a long time, there is something which no one can claim that he or she is a master of. No one big company or a startup or a consultant or any individual can say he or she has mastered AI. AI is such a new field. And all of us are together trying to learn this. At times during our internal discussions with Tapan San and other senior colleagues at Maruti, I won't say we get confused, but we wonder what should be our playbook. What should we do? Because there's so much of noise and there's so much of information. And almost every given day, you have a new news. And that news is about AI or something related to AI. So we can't be always in a hustle mode because we are a corporate. So the playbook, which Tapan San always says, let's collaborate. Because we cannot depend on one party, whether a big tech firm or a small tech firm. We can't depend on one individual. So we work with practically all consultants, all big tech companies, and also startups. That is precisely one of the reasons we are organizing this under the India AI mission. And startups bring in a lot of agility to Maruti's ecosystem. Startups bring in a lot of fresh perspective to Maruti Suzuki. And that's what we have learned in the last 5 years or so. Another interesting, Tapan San is looking at a time. I have 5 minutes. I still have 3 minutes. So another interesting point here is instead of questioning the capabilities of AI, we are trying to embrace it in letter and spirit. I have a lot of colleagues of mine here. I can see Rajan, Abhilasha San, Uttam San, who are actually driving a lot of AI transformation within the company, including Shobhit San. I remember a few weeks back, one of my colleagues, Rahul, said, there's too much of hype about AI. Is it really worth it? Because there are some concepts, probably he might have read it or learned it during his college days as well. But then I gave the example from one of the master classes taken by Akhilesh San, that don't question. If you were to compare AI, compare it like it's a refrigerator. I'm sure that now you're able to think what I'm just going to say. So think of AI as a refrigerator. So instead of wasting your time on building another refrigerator, think of what we can put inside that refrigerator. Because if you plot the data of the last 20, 30, 40 years, it's the beverage companies who have made more money than the refrigerator companies. If you look at the top 10, 20, 30 brands globally, beverage companies are actually in that top 10, 20. I'm not saying we start manufacturing cola, but the analogy here is let's not waste time in questioning the capabilities of AI. Let's embrace it in letter and spirit. And that's what we all are trying to do at Maruti Suzuki Innovation. Instead of spending too much time on scale deployments, what we are doing is collaborate with startups and do quick pilots and move ahead. On that note, let's spend next 40-45 minutes together to learn what new we can do in this field of AI and do something which is relevant for a coder in Bengaluru, a startup in Hyderabad, or a professional here in Gurgaon, or a farmer in Punjab, or anyone who is actually breathing. Because AI is going to be that thread which is going to connect all of us. But somebody said resources are not unlimited. So time and money is limited. And time is of essence here. And speed is something which can be of our strategic advantage. Because speed as part of your strategy was not thought about before, but now speed can actually be your strategy. And we don't have time to land a Boeing 737 on a kilometer-long runway. It's actually about landing a fighter aircraft on an aircraft carrier. That's the kind of speed, that's the kind of precision we all are looking for, and we believe AI can help us solve this. On that note, I once again welcome you all, and let's open this wonderful 40-45 minutes of discussion on AI. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you, sir, for setting the tone so thoughtfully. Let us now watch an AV showcasing Maruti Suzuki's innovation journey.
In 1956, Alan Turing presented a bold idea that machines could learn, reason, and assist human intelligence called AI. For decades, AI evolved through research and experimentation. Today, it has moved beyond laboratories to become a catalyst for global progress. From navigating our journeys to understanding our languages, from smarter healthcare to seamless digital services, AI is now part of everyday life. India is emerging as a global leader in this transformation by becoming one of the fastest countries to learn, upskill, and adopt AI. The India AI mission is building AI as a national capability with more than 10,300 crore rupees public funding to strengthen national GPU computing infrastructure, startup financing, data sets platforms, and indigenous foundation models. Aligned with this national vision, Maruti Suzuki is leveraging AI across its value chain to redefine mobility. From intelligent manufacturing systems that predict faults to AI-powered quality inspections that enhance safety and precision, AI works alongside our people, helping them make better, faster decisions. AI also helps us understand our customers better by anticipating their service needs, personalizing experiences, and strengthening trust across every touchpoint. As India moves towards becoming the largest AI hub, under the leadership of our Prime Minister, Maruti Suzuki remains committed to using AI to bring you the joy of mobility.
It is now my pleasure to invite a visionary leader whose work has significantly shaped innovation in the automotive sector. Dr. Tapan Sahu, Executive Officer, Digital Enterprise and Information and Cybersecurity, Maruti Suzuki, has been a strong advocate of technology-led transformation and future mobility solutions. Sir, may I please request you to deliver the leadership address?
Thank you very much. Thank you everyone for joining here. Anand san, Akhilesh san, all our panelists, thank you very much for joining us in this session. I'll take about 10 minutes now to talk about our journey. And our journey is embedded in India's journey. If you look at the evolution of Maruti Suzuki and the evolution of Indian automobile growth story, it's clearly deeply embedded. The transformation of the supplier ecosystem, the value chain, the development of local enthusiasm and entrepreneurs in the automotive component sector is a testimony of that. And as India is poised to grow to 2047, set up by our Honorable Prime Minister about the Amrit Kal. I think that's the journey India is taking. And we are taking our own journey in this context. These are some of the figures from McKinsey report, which talks about India growth story, the GDP growth, which is there, being the third largest, expected to be the third largest by 2030, and with the highest GDP growth. And in this context, this is a report, a recent report about a week back from Niti Aayog, which talks about India's carbon neutrality journey for 2070. So in that context, I think the impact on mobility sector is going to be profound. If you look at the kind of growth which is expected in terms of kilometer traveled, both in terms of passenger and goods transport, as well as the transformation of the powertrains and the related ecosystem is tremendous. If you look at the figures at the bottom chart, I think there is going to be huge transformation both in terms of infusion of technology as well as the powertrain electrified vehicle penetration by 2070. So from a current scenario, it's expected to grow up to 100% in some of the segments. So that's the real transformation which is happening there. And in this question is, how can we accelerate this without slowing down? So why slowing down? Because India today, automotive sector today contributes to about 7.1% of the GDP, 49% of manufacturing GDP, and aspiration is to double it by 2030. So when we want to do that, and if you look at the numbers, projections, I have not put any number because the numbers are confidential. The AMP is still in the working. But what is expected is that what happened in the last 42 years in terms of volume is going to grow 6x in next 21 years. Half of the time, but 6 times growth. Today we are producing about 4 million vehicles in India today, passenger vehicles, likely to be about 24 to 30 million vehicles. Is it a manageable growth? The kind of space that is required, the kind of people that is required, the kind of transformation that is required. How do you connect so many organizations, so many plants, so much of operations, so many consumers at scale? And that's where probably the role of AI comes in as a technology. And at Maruti Suzuki Digital Enterprise, we are driving digital innovation and transformation across the value chain in the organization. This is our journey, all of you know, like I said, but our journey is also ambitious. What we did in 42 years, we want to do in 6 years. So 0 to 2 million in 42 years, but 2 to 4 million in next 6 years. That's our plan. About 4 million production, 5 plant locations, probably 6,000-7,000 number of touch points, customer touch points, and about by that time would be about 40 plus or 45 plus million of customers. So that's the kind of scale that we have. And in order to transform that, it becomes extremely important that we adopt technology and use technology. So in this context, if you look at it, what are we trying to do at Digital Enterprise? We are trying to move the organization. The move is that we provide joy of mobility to our consumers. We create a culture of open innovation, make sure that we are creating value with adoption of technology, and empower our employees, which is in order to make decisions at the edge. And for this, how are you adopting AI? I think first is responsible AI, making sure that we have a responsible AI framework already in place, which is implemented, and also making authentic impact. We are not looking AI as hype. We are looking at how we can actually use AI to make authentic impact. 2 examples I'll give. First with customer. If you look at the customer's journey today, I think customers are highly digital savvy, and there are various touch points except 2 which are digitized. However, there are multiple apps which are joining these customers today. And what we're doing is we're trying to create a solution for the consumers so that they have a seamless journey. Clicker is not working. So that they have a very seamless journey. And in this context, next slide. Sorry, back. What's happening? Previous slide. Just check if the battery is low in this clicker. Yeah. So we are trying to create a seamless journey for the consumers. And this is not only to look at their journey with the vehicle. We are looking at mobility at large. So the mobility plate includes your place for parking. When you have gone to a party and you are drunk or you don't know how to drive, you get a driver on demand. And when you're traveling with family, you want to find a clean washroom, you can do that. So that's the kind of vision we have to provide joy of mobility across the lifetime of our consumers. And the next one is IoT, connected factories, making sure that all our plants are connected and we have a very well integrated factory setup which gives real-time visibility, insights, alarms and automated. So we are getting into a smart factory concept as far as Maruti Suzuki is concerned. And in this journey, what is helping us, like Rohan said, is our innovation program, our work with startups and our ecosystem partners. So we have 4 streams of startup programs, starting with incubation, the nurture program with IIM Calcutta, the incubation program with IIM Bangalore, our own accelerator, and then the mobility challenge with T-Hub. And we have also created a program of fundraise for our startup founders. And so far we have looked at about 6,200 plus startups. 200 plus of them are engaged with us. 60 are doing paid POCs and 32 have become our business partners. We provide the scale to them. Maruti is the market. Few days back, I met Tom Chijwright, who had written about the high frequency change. And this slide caught my attention. Tech change is happening at such a fast pace. If you compare that with human body or organizations in that sense, we are not able to adapt to it. So therefore, how can organizations evolve? That can only happen through entrepreneurs and people, enthusiastic people like startups. So for managing high frequency change, as organizations, we need to be agile. We need to adapt to that change because we can't change ourselves quickly. And therefore, the adoption of startups becomes a very, very key enabler as far as Maruti Suzuki Innovation Program is concerned. And in this, it's not only the startups, our ecosystem partners, we are partnering with government bodies, industry, the whole tech partners, and that's what is driving our innovation. And we hope that all of us together can democratize AI solutions for mobility in India going forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for those inspiring insights. Our next speakers bring deep expertise at the intersection of technology, policy, and enterprise transformation. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Akhilesh Tuteja, partner and national leader, clients and markets, KPMG.
Thank you very much. Okay, good afternoon, everyone. I can't tell you how inspired I am to be in front of you here and talk about it. Wonderful opening by Rohan San and wonderful opening by, and great statistics from Tapan San. Especially a lot of people who don't work with Maruti do not realize that it slowly is a tech company also selling cars. And I think that's a big change which I'm seeing. And the amount of ecosystem-based innovation you're driving is absolutely amazing. I know every minute I take will be away from these 5 wonderful speakers, so I'll try and be fast. But I did make the mistake of making some slides. So when consultant, they get committed to their slides. So unfortunately, I am. So I'm emotionally tight. But I've got 10 minutes, and I'll try and finish in 10 minutes. Can you get the timer on? And when I request Purnima, you can go to the next slide because I don't have a clicker. So somebody told me that we are at the edge of innovation. This is the time when all the innovations are happening. But if you click on the next slide, Purnima, I'll ask you a question to all of you, is when do you think the first aviation autopilot technology was built? Any guesses? When was the first autopilot built? 1940. Okay. You click and you'll get the answer. Lawrence, just go back. Lawrence Perry was the guy who actually, go back to the previous, he was the guy who demonstrated an autopilot on 18th of June, 1914. This is actually a picture of that time. This is less than 10 years since the time the Wright brothers had taken the first flight out. So imagine all of us think that, we are living in a world where change is happening, but actually a lot of change has been happening for a very, very long time. The problem is that some of these changes ahead of its time, and he actually demonstrated this walking onto the flap that he could have the flight balance through an autopilot, which was built at that point in time. Get to the next slide. And then a lot of people tell me saying that if that was built in 1914, which means that everything that could have been invented has already been invented, so why are we in this room? And next click will tell you that the wheel was invented about 4th millennium BC, and the luggage, for people to carry luggage when they come to this place, was built about 250 years ago. But it took nearly 170 years for people to figure out that they can put a wheel under the luggage to actually make it like a trolley. So all of you who believe that a lot of innovation has happened, I can tell you there is an innovation which happens enough every number of time. And therefore, I think that innovation is anything but predictable. So it is anything but predictable. You can call anything innovation, but if it is predictable, it certainly is not the innovation. So I do believe that while we are not living on the edge, but we are lucky to be alive in this AI era. Any guesses on what was Collins Dictionary's 2025 word of the year? Every year they add so many words to the dictionary and they say pick one word which has changed the game. For 2025, any guesses what that word was? AI? No, AI is a very old word. Maybe in 1940s they added AI. Next click will tell you the word was vibe coding. The vibe coding changed the game, and there we said that you don't need to be a programmer to create a code. You don't need to be a programmer to write software. You just need to have the right vibe, and once you have the right vibe, AI will write the code. So that, I think, is a true inflection point where the general understanding of technology goes to everybody through a dictionary to say that vibe coding is the way of life for us to see. So how do we envision 2047, which is a hard task for me in front of you here? So Tapan-san actually did a better job than I'm going to do here. He talked about saying all the changes that happened in 44 years, and in 21 years we'll have much, much more. So I looked at what the world, so if you have to see 21 years hence, bad idea, go back 21 years. Maybe we should go back 500 years, but let's say 20 years back. So 20 years back, we had about 21 million internet users. We had about 1 million or less smartphone. Today, we got nearly 1 billion on all of them. Digital economy was 2% of the GDP. Today, the digital economy, by any stretch of imagination, is at least 12 to 15%. And if you look at the energy, which is the lowest bottom layer of the AI life cycle, the energy at that point was just about 6 gigawatt. Today, we are talking about 270 gigawatts of non-fossil energy. So let's click, we'll tell you saying what the 2047 could look like. And my answer is that the next 2047 will look like as much as your imagination. It's not anything our imagination will drive. But when I think about that optimism, I get reminded by that quote from the movie Chennai Express, which says that do not underestimate the power of a common man. And I said, do not estimate the power of a common engineer who's sitting behind an AI engine and has the vibe coding capabilities and what that engineer could do. So I just thought that rather than talking about what the future could look like, I wanted to talk to all of you to say that what the future shouldn't look like, and that might be one way for us to go through some of these stories. And I say I'll learn from 3 stories. I've got about 6 minutes to go, and I'll try and run 3 stories in that time. These are the 3 stories which I've learned. So the first story, if you go further down, is the story which I will hear from the remote control. You'll have to keep clicking till this slide comes up. I grew up learning that necessity is the mother of invention. We all know that, right? But the next link will tell you that possibility is also the father of invention. Can you just keep clicking, Purnima, I think? Just fill the whole slide up. Yeah, just go back here. So while the necessity is the mother of invention, just because something is possible, that becomes another reason to innovate. And that's a great thing about this remote control, which I call the ignored device in all our homes. On an average, a remote control of a television has about 35 buttons. And how many buttons do we all need? I don't know how many do I need, but I actually don't use the remote control because these days I can speak to my TV and it does it. But on a real basis, about maybe 3 to 5 buttons is what we need. Then why does the remote control of a television has 35 buttons? The reality is that the incremental cost of adding a feature is nearly 0. Once you build the base technology, you can just keep adding the features. And then what my friend Ross Anderson says that at equilibrium, a computer, phone, or anything programmable will reach the level of unacceptability for most user. And that's the reality. I see a lot of AI development which is happening in this world today, which nobody needs, nobody buys, and nobody actually deploys. And the reality is that we say we have got a base model and then let's put everything, because the incremental cost of adding anything is nearly zero. When you keep adding lots of things with an incremental cost of zero, it becomes absolutely useless, because for me to find those 3 buttons, I have to go through those 35 buttons, all being programmable. So a lot of innovation is being edged, saying, you got 4 things, I'll make 5. I got 5, you add 6. And that is a one big challenge which the innovation fraternity has to deal with. Let's click on the next one. This is my next story about panchayat, a gram panchayat. This story goes like this, that a sarpanch is elected, and he's been asked questions like for things about who should be punished, who should be this thing. So one fine day, a villager asked, and this is a village somewhere in Haryana where I live, quite developed part of North America. And he says, you know, Sarpanch ji, I'll talk in Hindi, Sarpanch ji, is saal kitni thand padegi? And the Sarpanch says that the last time the guy predicted wrong and he was actually pushed out. So if anything else, I should play safe. And he says, this year will be very cold. So make sure that you got enough sweaters, enough blankets, and enough firewood to make sure that you don't die of cold. And he says, I hope that this year is cold, because otherwise people will be fine. Just go back to the previous one. And then he's always worried whether the cold will be there. So he calls up the weather station in Delhi and says, you know, can you tell me how cold this year it will be? And they say, yeah, this year will be quite cold. He says, good, my prediction is going to be right. And then another 2 weeks later, which is just a week before the onset of January, he says, you know, can you tell me how cold will it be this time? And they said, this time it'll be super cold, the coldest January weekend. He says, why do you think it'll be so cold? He says, because we also have other data we collect through our AI, and a lot of people are buying sweaters and blankets and all that, which they never bought in the past. So a lot of time we are seeing that what I call the echo chamber AI. There's a lot of AI which is listening from one data, amplifies to another, amplifies to another. That's what you see when you start to see your Instagram reels look like the same every time. So there's a lot of innovation. Please don't build innovation which is fake data multiplying fake data. Let's go to the third story. This is a story which I learned yesterday. So this is my experience. Yesterday I was at the Bharat Mandapam. For those of you who really want to listen to the content, come to this center, okay? And I thank Tapan San for hosting it there. Anybody who's at Bharat Mandapam has been tortured by the long queues, no water whatsoever. I've tortured myself. And I was standing there, there were 3 people. There's an American, a German, and an Indian person. The person on the left side that's an American, the German lady, and Indian. So they say, you know, why are we doing AI Summit in India? And this guy says we are doing AI Summit in India because AI is ahead. India is the AI capital of the world. He says, why do you think this? I can prove it to you. So American says, no, we are far ahead. I can tell you, we went to Washington, D.C., and we started to dig under the ground. And after we dug for about 100 meters, we found copper wire. And we can say with huge amount of confidence that 100 years ago, our ancestors were using copper network. This lady from Germany says, you know, that doesn't sound good. We actually went to Berlin, and we started to dig. We kept digging. At 200 meters, we found lots of glass shells. And I can say with confidence that 200 years ago, our ancestors were already on the optical fiber network. And this guy Indian says, okay. We actually went to Delhi. We started digging, 100 meters, we found nothing. We went further digging, 200 meters, found nothing. We actually kept digging 500 meters, and we found absolutely nothing. So we can say with huge confidence that 500 years ago, our ancestors were already on wireless networks. So a lot of time, and I'll give you the example. One of the AI company which came to me, they said that, you know, they have got 100% accuracy rate of all the implementation they've done. I said, how many? 3. So there's a lot of wireless networks. So 3 stories I've told you that don't build remote control which nobody needs. Don't create fake data which will amplify. And the third one is that don't create an AI which is so fake that it just picks up the data which the absence of evidence doesn't make it proven right. So with that, I've got about 26 seconds, and I'll try and wrap it. If you go to the next one, keep going fast. What could be a good success strategy? In today's world, your idea plus AI can just be your product. Keep going. And this is what the equation I used to say many years ago. Progress was equal to skill set and mindset. In today's world, thanks to AI and vibe coding, the skill set, the value of skill set has come down, but the value of mindset has emerged even more. I don't have time to tell you, but there's an experiment which is done in Wharton just about a few months ago where they proved that it's no longer the technological capability of a human being, but about the domain expertise and a mindset of a human being which can beat a common engineer 500 times in terms of the speed of development of a product. Now, I don't have time to tell you this, but there are many ways to solve a problem, and there are 2 ways, which is analysis and synthesis. Keep going fast. And I'll just leave you with this thought from Deep Nishar, a great visionary. And he said that to be a good product manager, you need the brain of an engineer, the heart of a designer, and the speech of a diplomat. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for having me here. And I hope you get to that level very fast. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. We now move to the panel discussion on the topic Accelerated Innovation for Nation Building, the role of AI startups in India's growth story for Viksit Bharat by 2047. To explore this further, we have an exceptional panel with us today, which will be moderated by Mr. Rohan Chatwal, Vice President, Innovation and Governance Excellence, Maruti Suzuki. Let me introduce our esteemed panelist, Ms. Anisha Singh, Founder and Managing Partner, She Capital. Mr. Akhil Gupta, Founder, NoBroker.com and Conversant AI. Mr. Kavi Kruth, CEO, T-Hub. Mr. Abhilash Soundararajan, Founder, Privasapien.
So we have precisely 16 minutes. Thank you, Akhilesh-san. That was brilliant. I mean, you are always... Actually, you should start taking more master classes and get royalty from ET as well, because they do lovely master classes. And I don't know whether you read it or not, but the topic for today's fantastic panel discussion, we have about 15 minutes. I've kept a margin of a minute, is accelerated innovation for nation building. Of course, everybody is doing nation building, but we want to kind of double click on the role of AI startups. How can we actually accelerate the pace of innovation in India for a Viksit Bharat 2047? Of course, we would love to be as young as what we are today by 2047, but still let's celebrate more on this. I have Anisha-san. San, of course, we say to all Japanese, you understand. Yes, thank you so much. So Anisha-san, you've been leading this venture, She Capital, and that is why this question is for you. That over the last 5-7 years in India, I think system is now able to crack the startup kit. I mean, there's been a accelerated pace of startups getting started in India with a lot of support of incubators, accelerators, a lot of capital also going here. But if you double click on this, still 75% is for early stage and seed stage startups. Where is the follow-up capital? How will startups actually scale up if they are stuck at seed stage? Because the data also says 80% of the startups after 5 years do not reach Series A, Series B. So how can we solve this? Because if we were to have a Viksit Bharat by 2047, and we want more and more startups to reach Series A, B, C, make more money, and of course, create more value for all the ecosystem players, and including you.
Well, I think one thing we've got to be aware of, we don't give ourselves enough credit. Unlike the US ecosystem that's been around for over 50 years now, the Silicon Valley of the world, we've only been around since 2008-9. And I know this because literally that's when I started raising funding for my startup. So I think we've come a long way. If you look at it, our startups have graduated. We've got over 200,000 startups. So we've seen the density. That's great. We've gotten there. It's a matter of them graduating and getting to where you feel stable. And I think we're already seeing that. It's not like you're not. We're seeing a lot of startups that have built for scale. They are now going IPO. Are they in the deep tech space? No. We're seeing that in consumer. And we're seeing a lot of capital chasing them also. You're seeing a lot of mega hit IPOs happen now. A lot of IPOs are getting oversubscribed. So we're seeing that. I think where we're seeing this discrepancy is only in what I'd say is emerging tech and deep tech, which we also do. I think the capital needs to be a little more patient, but that comes with comfort, right, Rohan? You see that happen when investors have seen some success, and then when the other investors join that, they're like, acha, there's light at the end of the tunnel. I think we're going to start seeing that when we see a lot of deep tech stories.
So how can VCs like you be more liberal in more follow-up rounds?
Well, I think it's we are, by the way, very liberal, but I think the great thing that's happened now is a recalibration where it's realistically liberal. And so you're seeing that, people are actually looking at where are you? At Series A, you better be performing. You better be. You know, people are not selling an idea. They're selling performance. And that is the only difference, that at
That's
Series A and
a
selling...
wonderful takeaway.
Yeah.
You're selling performance, you're actually not selling idea at a Series A. How many startup founders here with a raise of hands? We have few. How many, who wants to be a startup founder someday? I want to be. Who would not
I want to go back to the founding world. It's so much better. But at that point, you just have to be mindful of that. I think VCs are now coming to that. I think the government and we're all now starting to put rails, create things around deep tech. And I think we're at that, basically the helm of the chasm, where if we cross it, India's just sorted. We're going to do the same thing we've done with consumer tech companies, with deep tech companies. We just, as investors, also have a responsibility to our LPs to give back the money, right? And so as long as you see that there's this great playbox and this great playbook, we're going to see that. We want to be able to back category creators.
We have to sell performance now. I will quickly jump to Kavikrutsan. You have worked with a wonderful startup yourself before, scaled it up, IPO. You made lots and lots of money. You have a Porsche and Lamborghini with you. So the question is, you are based out of T-Hub, Hyderabad, and you, because by T-Hub I consider one of the best and one of the biggest ecosystem players in India, and you are surrounded by wonderful engineers and a set of very young founders. Again, I will come back to scale. So is the purpose of starting a startup is just survive for 3-4 years, or is it about commercially viable for the next 15, 20, 30, 40, 50 years? Like Suzuki was also once a startup, and now it's been more than 100 years. The company is surviving. So how can we instill this in the young founders who sit out of T-Hub and the ecosystem you have created there?
No, fantastic question. Thank you for having me here, Rohan-san. I think I haven't met a single founder who doesn't want to build big, right? In fact, then they are not founders, right? You can define them in some other way. So most founders want to build big. People don't realize that it takes time to build companies, especially in India. Even the biggest IPO stories of today started 15, 10, 12 years ago, right? So most founders who may not have aspiration for 2 or 3 years are looking at shorter exit cycles at the end of the day. Now, to your question of saying, how do we change that survival rate? I think first of all, we have to look at the signal versus the noise. There's a lot of noise in the startup ecosystem. 10 years ago, it wasn't cool to start up. The first thing people would say is that you didn't get placed, in a company after your engineering or whatever. Now it's the coolest thing to do. So a lot of people on LinkedIn are stealth founders of stealth startups, and I think there's a lot of noise there. So as T-Hub, as incubators, as people who are trying to help founders, we usually focus on cutting signal from the noise. And I think at the first 2 levels, which is you have an idea and you have got into a prototype of some form or, an MVP of some form, there is a massive lack of intellectual honesty about product market fit, right? So that's the first piece where I think survival needs to happen, because even if you raise your first check, it could be angel, it could be institutional, you have to get to product market fit. If you go out and ask founders what product market fit means, you will get a very mixed definition. There's a nice definition that I like that Sequoia had put together. Rajan told me about it. It's basically you should have insane customer love, you should have found a distribution channel, and you should have some form of margin or profit economics. If you have those 3, then that means you have. So I think that's the first place, and the second is what you were talking to Anisha also about, is I think early stage risk capital still does not exist in the country. This is when a great founder has a good idea but doesn't know which way to go. I think that's where massive amounts of capital needs to come in. I think if you're able to do those 2 things, early on, then the so-called funnel, the survival rate, will change. But I think right now we just have to find signals in the noise. That's what we are seeing as T-Hub. I'll just add one last bit, Rohan-san, is that given everything, and Akhilesh ji was talking about it, a few minutes ago. By the way, you almost sounded like a founder doing an elevator pitch. The energy and the pace and the clarity with which you pitched. But now we are in the entire startup ecosystem as we know it, foundership as a science or an art, everything is getting disrupted. Funds that raised 100 mil or 200 mil as a fund size, 10 years ago now want to raise $1 billion or $3 billion. Yeah, Lightspeed just did. So I think everything is getting disrupted. And as an incubator or as a ecosystem builder, if you think about what's happening in the space, think of it like a watchtower in a forest. We don't know what the jungle looks like anymore. Yeah. The food pyramid is changing. The tweeting of the birds is changing. The flora and fauna is changing. As a watchtower, you can go up, you can see what's happening, come back down. And I can tell you that with everything that's happening in AI and how everything is getting disrupted, the world is a whole new place. So all the questions that we are answering, on what is product market fit,
may change over
yes, we have to now keep continuously evolving, and you can't wait for it to happen.
Yeah.
You have to build the plane while you're in the air.
Yes, yes. You have to
right?
build as you fly.
And I think that's what I would seek, for founders to do to survive the funnel. Be intellectually honest to yourself, raise risk capital as early as you can, and try to achieve product market fit as soon as possible.
Kavita. I'll come to the risk capital later on. Second question, Mr. Akhil. Just to put some numbers here, in about 2021, about 8 tech companies went for IPO. In 2024, about 27 tech companies went for IPO. In 2025, it's about 41. Number could be 41 could be 42 or 39, but it's 41. Do you think with the support of AI, this number can actually scale up, and AI can actually support startups from Series A to now scale it up to B, C, and then eventually IPO?
For sure. So basically, if you talk about us, it's 12 years since we started doing business, and the time it has taken us to be where we are right now in terms of the revenue, in terms of the size. I keep telling my team, with AI, anybody can come and disrupt you. If we don't change, whatever somebody has achieved in 8, 10, 12 years, it can easily be done in 2, 3 years. Because as Akhilesh was talking about vibe coding, as more and more people are coming without having to learn a specific skill set, and they can leverage AI to learn at a very, very fast pace and deliver at even faster pace, it's insane. So I feel in next 5, 10 years, you'll see many more IPOs, and it will be a very, very critical part of 2047 Mission Bharat, where we'll be a developed country. There will be thousands of companies, thousands of new entrepreneurs, big companies which would have been created out of India, and AI would have played an extremely critical role in that.
Thanks, Akhilesh. I'll come to Abhilash. Abhilash is a startup founder again, Private Sapient. Abhilash, of course, you're a super talented guy. I am not taking any credit for that. But I believe you are one of the beneficiaries of the action happening in India in the last 3 to 4 years. Whatever, the government is doing, ecosystem is doing, corporates are doing, and whether the support of VCs, practically everything which is right in India, probably you are one of the beneficiaries of this. So what's your take on how the ecosystem can support more players like you, and we can have more Private Sapients than just 10, 20, 30%?
That's a great question. First of all, thank you for having me. And Maruti is like our home. This is the first paying customer we won in 2023, the mail program, right? So what is needed in the ecosystem is, like companies, I'm not saying for the sake of saying, but corporates willing to work with companies, startups, and paying them the POC, paying for the POC, giving them the business use case, more importantly, right? Actual problem on the ground. Because what you think, we were speaking about the product market fit, right? But for somebody to understand what is a product market fit, they need to understand the actual requirement from ground. And that is something generally is not available. Startups think something, but when they go to the ground, it is something different. Do they have the agility to connect to the business requirement, solve the requirement while whether it is being paid or not being paid, and accelerate it, build the narrative, connect with, there are different dimensions to it. It can be technical, it can be legal. Now, a lot of things on the AI side of things, building an ecosystem, community, all these things are critical. If they can do it and work with stakeholders, not just customers, for example, ecosystems like Maruti or NASCOM or DSCI, work with those ecosystems, communicate the message. When this happens, then subsequent things happen, like you get to be noticed. And typically they say, don't chase the money, chase the solution, and then the money will chase you. So when these things are done, what we are seeing from our lens is that when these things happen, then naturally the value proposition side things happen. But the foundation thing is chase the use case, be agile to solve the problem. Once you do this, then everything else follows.
Thanks, Abhilash. It's only 3.5 minutes left. I'll quickly come to Anisha again. You're representing an organization called as She Capital. So you only fund women-led startups, or it's open to all? And how do you differentiate between a women-led startup team or a guy like Private Sapient, fantastic
No, we broadly do women-led, women-focused. So it's a big ecosystem. Now the consumer base buying is basically women, so it's a broad thing. We would look at his company if it's interesting, so we do have a carve-out for that. And I just Googled you, by the way. That being said, I just want to say something about the ecosystem. I think AI is very similar to where we were with the internet and the internet boom. And I've been a founder in the Indian ecosystem since 2004, 2009 is when I did my internet company. I think there's a lot of hype. I'd like to say one thing. I go to the US often. I consult here, there, everywhere. If you can start up in India, know this, and there are a lot of founders here. Trust me, you can start up anywhere. It's like driving. If you can drive in India, you can drive anywhere in the world. And starting up is basically like that. If you can start here and make it through, it's really about perseverance. If you can do that here, trust me, anywhere in the world after this is a cakewalk. So don't get discouraged. Stay on your journey. This AI, yes, enhance it with that, but don't let it get to you and bog you down and be like, oh my God, I'm behind the arc. You're not.
Wonderful, wonderful. So performance selling, and you can start your own startup because she says she has the money to fund you. Okay. So we quickly move to Kavi. Kavi's talked about risk capital. Kavi, I don't think we have dedicated funds which announce that, okay, it's a risky fund. Do you think time has come that say, okay, you can be one of the LPs, but it's a risky fund because I'll do a lot of follow-on rounds, and your money can go X to 100X or maybe 0?
No, funds are here to make money. So it won't come from there. It will have to come from like the recently announced 10,000 crore second SISF fund that the government's announced, which is amazing. So it will have to come from in the form of grants. It will have to come in the form of small checks and angel capital. If you can organize LPs, we are trying to do this in Hyderabad now, to do like, small checks together. It will have to come from angel funds.
Or an aggregation of all these small angel
Yeah,
funds.
it will have to come from that, unfortunately.
Thank you so much. Akhil, one thing unique about you here on this panel is you are a repeat founder. You've not only built one company, but I think 2 or 3 successful startup companies. So are you also giving back to the startup ecosystem by supporting other young startups?
Yeah, a lot. So I think I would have invested in around 20 companies. A lot of companies
How many companies?
20 companies.
20 companies, wonderful.
So,
wow.
And many of them, as you were saying, are already 70, 80x of what I had made investment on. And many of them no longer exist. So I think that's the part. And as Kavi was saying, this risk capital has to come from angels. It has to come from HNIs. It has to come from early ecosystem. Then only a lot of new companies can grow up.
Thank you. Thanks, Akhil. Last 20 seconds, Abhilash. Anything you would like the ecosystem to change to make another Abhilash?
I'm not that successful yet. I'm just starting. I think focusing on the problem and delivering value for the customer, I think that is the single most important thing. If we focus on that, then everything else follows.
Thank you so much. On time. Thanks, Anisha. Thanks, Kavi-san. Thanks, Akhil. And thanks, Abhilash. So we have learned some new stuff today. Patient capital, performance selling, and of course, he's giving back 80x returns. Akhil is giving 80x returns, and Abhilash is going. Akhilesh, you can actually invest in private safety if you want. You have lots of money. Okay. With this, thank you so much. Thanks all of you for coming in, joining us. And I think we have one small ceremony left, and then we close. Okay. Thank you. Thanks, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you all for joining this session. Your exit will be on back side on right hand side. If you want to have any discussion with your team, you can do this in the entrance area in the front main gate. One more notice, we have one good session is going on Shakuntalam Hall. If anyone is willing to join, you can join there.
All the attendees, it is requested you may please leave as the next session is going to start. No, attendees, not for you, sir.
Your exit will be on back side, right hand side, sir. Please don't go where you have came.
All the attendees, it is a kind request.
Please join for a group photograph with the startups.